The quality is so much better than I expected. It feels like something way more expensive. Honestly, it's kind of a steal. Show support to Nubian narrator and cop some merch before it's sold out again.
Let's start with a confession. If you're watching this, it means I have survived. Not morally, not spiritually, but algorithmically. Because on YouTube, survival is no longer about truth, quality, or effort. It's about whether the machine finds you aesthetically acceptable. Welcome to the platform where your career is judged by a piece of software that can't explain itself, can't be questioned, and can't be held accountable. Religion had fewer mysteries. The new God has arrived. YouTube used to be a website, then it became a platform, then it became an ecosystem, then it became an economy. Now it's something else entirely. It's a machine-governed civilization, where creators exist at the mercy of a digital deity called the algorithm and its high priest, automated enforcement systems. This thing doesn't just recommend videos, it decides who eats, who grows, who disappears, who is safe, who is suspicious, who is borderline content, who is harmful to the community. And here's the best part, no one actually knows how it works. Not you, not me, not the human support staff, not even YouTube's own employees. The AI does not explain itself. The humans merely translate its silence into copy-pasted emails. The moderation team that doesn't moderate. Let's talk about YouTube support for a moment. Have you ever appealed a strike, a demonetization, a removal, a ban? You know the routine. You write a careful, thoughtful appeal. You explain context. You cite policy. You clarify intent. You treat it like a court submission. And within 3 minutes you receive a response that says, "We've reviewed your content and confirmed our decision was correct." 3 minutes. To review a 45-minute video with nuance, context, satire, complexity. That's not a review. That's a ritual. That's a priest reading from a script because the god has already spoken. The human didn't evaluate anything, they simply clicked confirm. Not because they're lazy, but because they genuinely don't know why the AI flagged it either. Imagine any other industry working like this. Picture this logic applied elsewhere. You go to court. The judge says, "You are guilty." You ask, "Why?" The judge responds, "The system has determined this." You ask, "What system?" The judge says, "We don't know how it works. We're not allowed to question it. We just implement its decisions." That's not justice. That's prophecy. That's oracle governance. That's a civilization handing power to a machine and then building a corporate structure around pretending that's normal. The humans are just decorative. Here's the uncomfortable truth. YouTube's human moderation team are not decision makers. They are not investigators. They are not reviewers. They are emotional support staff for the algorithm. Their job is not to solve your issue. Their job is to contain your frustration. They exist to absorb your anger so the system doesn't have to. You're not speaking to authority. You're speaking to customer service actors whose script says, "We understand this is frustrating," and nothing else. Because behind the scenes the real conversation is, creator, why was I banned? Support agent, the AI flagged your content. Creator, why did the AI flag it? Support agent, we don't have that information. Creator, can you escalate? Support agent, the AI already reviewed the appeal. Creator, so who's accountable? Support agent, we appreciate your feedback. That's not support, that's existential theatre. Content creation in the age of digital paranoia. Creators no longer ask, is this good? Is this true? Is this valuable? They ask, will the AI misinterpret this? Will the AI hear that word? Will the AI see that image? Will the AI detect sarcasm? Will the AI understand context? Spoiler, it won't. Satire becomes risky, journalism becomes risky, education becomes risky, nuance becomes dangerous, complexity becomes suspicious, Creators now self-censor not for their audience, but for an invisible machine with unknown sensitivities. We are no longer creating for humans, we are performing for software. The platform where innocence is irrelevant. Here's the real dystopian part. On YouTube, it doesn't matter whether you intended harm. It doesn't matter whether your content is educational. It doesn't matter whether you're criticizing something rather than endorsing it. All that matters is how the AI interprets your pixels and syllables. If the system misreads your video, you are guilty. No intent, no context, no conversation, no accountability, just automated judgment. That's not moderation. That's algorithmic authoritarianism with better branding. The most powerful employee at YouTube isn't human. Let's be honest. The most powerful person at YouTube isn't the CEO. It isn't the executives. It isn't the board. It's the machine learning model that runs content enforcement. That system decides which voices survive, which topics are suppressed, which creators get visibility, which narratives thrive, which conversations die quietly. And the terrifying part, it's not ideological, it's not moral, it's not conscious. It's just pattern recognition gone rogue, trained on flawed data, enforcing policies that even humans struggle to interpret. It's censorship without ideology, control without intention, power without consciousness, which might actually be worse. This month's feature rollout is mass banning creators and rejecting appeals in under 5 minutes, speedrunning digital execution. People are waking up to emails saying their entire channels are gone, years of work, deleted, not demonetized, not restricted, terminated. And when they appeal, the appeal is rejected almost instantly. Not, we reviewed this carefully. More like, thank you for your submission, the machine has already decided your fate. That's not moderation, that's automation theatre. Welcome to the era of bot justice. YouTube has confirmed what creators have suspected for years. Most of moderation enforcement is handled by AI. Appeals are processed by AI. Humans often do not know why content was flagged. And when you get a response from support, it's usually a scripted template because the person replying literally has no insight into what the system saw. That's not conspiracy, that's just operational reality. So when your channel disappears overnight and you ask why, the honest answer is, we don't know. The system didn't tell us. Imagine any other industry functioning like this. You go to the bank. Your account is closed. You ask why. The cashier says the algorithm flagged you. You ask what for. They say, we don't have access to that information. You appeal. 3 minutes later they say, appeal rejected. You wouldn't call that customer service, you'd call that a dystopia with better branding. Real people, real channels, real loss. This isn't hypothetical. Creators with clean records are being wiped. Channels with no prior strikes are being terminated. People who've spent years building audiences are watching everything vanish overnight. Not because they posted anything dangerous, not because they broke obvious rules, but because the system detected something. Something vague, something opaque, something unexplainable. Some appeals are rejected so fast it's mathematically impossible that a human watched the video, which means the appeal process itself is just another layer of automation. You're not appealing to a person. You're appealing to the same system that already decided you were guilty. That's like asking a brick wall to reconsider. The support team aren't lying to you, they're just powerless. Let's get something clear because nuance matters. The human beings working YouTube support are not villains. They're not plotting against creators. They're not secretly cackling while deleting channels. They're stuck. They're given a dashboard, a set of scripts, an extremely limited insight into how the AI actually made its decision. They can't interrogate the system. They can't override it easily. They can't tell you what exactly triggered enforcement because the system often doesn't generate human-readable explanations. So when you ask, why was my channel banned? They literally do not know. They're messengers for a machine that refuses to explain itself. That's not support, that's emotional damage control. The appeal process is basically a placebo button. The appeal system exists so YouTube can say, we offer due process. But when appeals are rejected in minutes, sometimes seconds, that's not due process. That's automated confirmation bias. Creators describe writing long, thoughtful explanations. Context, policy references, good faith engagement. They hit submit. They refresh their inbox. Rejection already there. That's not review, that's ritual. You're not being evaluated, you're being processed. The appeal system isn't correcting errors, it's legitimizing them. The AI does not understand context. Here's the root problem. YouTube's AI does not understand meaning. It recognizes patterns. It can see words. It can see imagery. It can detect trends. It can identify signals. But it cannot understand satire, criticism, education, nuance, irony, context, journalistic intent, artistic framing. So if you criticize extremism, the AI might just see extremism. If you discuss violence in an educational context, it might just see violence. If you analyze controversial topics, it might just see controversy. It doesn't ask why. It doesn't understand purpose. It flags patterns and pulls the trigger. And the scariest part? Once flagged, the system rarely admits error. YouTube has built a system that can destroy careers with no explanation. That's not hyperbole. That's operational reality. Some creators lose their primary income. Some lose their audience permanently. Some lose archives of years of work. Some lose momentum they can never rebuild. And when they ask for accountability, the response is corporate silence wrapped in polite language. We're confident in our systems. We take these matters seriously. We understand your frustration. None of those sentences answer the only real question. Why did this happen? We've normalized algorithmic authority. This is the part that should unsettle everyone. We have collectively accepted that machines can judge speech. Machines can end livelihoods. Machines don't need to explain themselves. Humans must defer to machine output. There is no real accountability loop. That's not just a YouTube issue, that's a cultural shift. The system decided has become a socially acceptable explanation for serious harm. That's dangerous. Because once we accept that logic in digital platforms, it doesn't stay contained there. It becomes the template for how future systems treat human agency. This is not scale, this is negligence with better graphics. YouTube's defense is always the same. We operate at scale. Billions of videos. Millions of uploads. Impossible to review everything manually. Fine. That's true. But when your system has the power to delete livelihoods, scale is not an excuse to remove accountability. It's a reason to increase transparency. Instead, what we got is opaque systems, unexplainable decisions, automated appeals, minimal human oversight, scripted customer responses, zero meaningful recourse. That's not technological inevitability. That's design choice. The irony is unreal. YouTube calls this department trust and safety. Creators trust nothing. Creators feel safe nowhere. The platform that was built on independent voices is now governed by a system that silently suppresses them without explanation. You're expected to invest years of your life into content creation while knowing that everything you build can vanish overnight because an opaque model misinterpreted your pixels. That's not a creator economy, that's psychological roulette. Let's talk about real humans, not abstractions, not vibes, not metaphors. Chase car, a YouTube channel demonetized, income gone, punished by the system with no meaningful explanation. Niall, a student in Ireland, 500,000 subscribers. His account terminated for spam back in October. 500,000 people chose to follow him, but the AI decided that didn't matter. Shaz, 27 years old, didn't just get hit himself. He started compiling a list of deactivated YouTube accounts because the volume was so overwhelming he thought, this can't just be me. Let that sink in. Not, I made a list out of curiosity. I made a list because the digital graveyard was filling too fast. And then Alaa, 25, from Egypt, built a channel. Second video goes viral. 17,600 subscribers. Momentum, growth, future. Then the system sweeps through. These aren't faceless data points, these are people. With timelines, with effort, with investment, with hope. And they all met the same judge. Not a person, not a moderator, not a panel, a machine. 500,000 subscribers meant nothing. Let's return to Niall for a second. 500,000 subscribers. That's not accidental success. That's not spam behavior. That's not random noise. That's 500,000 people choosing to engage with someone's work. But none of that matters to the machine. The machine doesn't see trust. It doesn't see community. It doesn't see context. It doesn't see meaning. It sees patterns. And if your patterns resemble something undesirable in its training data, you're gone. 500,000 people or 5 people, doesn't matter. Pattern triggered. Account terminated. Shaz didn't just get hit, he started documenting the dead. This part should disturb everyone. Shaz didn't wake up one day thinking, I fancy doing some light data collection. He started compiling a list of deactivated channels because he saw so many people posting, my account is gone. My appeal was rejected instantly. I don't know what I did wrong. My years of work are gone. This isn't paranoia. This isn't isolated incidents. This is volume. Enough volume that someone felt compelled to start documenting casualties. When users begin acting like war correspondents inside a platform, that's not a minor bug. That's systemic failure. Alaa built something, then the floor dropped out. Alaa's story is brutal in a different way. Young creator. Second video goes viral. Momentum. 17,000 subscribers. That early stage where everything feels possible. You're not even rich yet. You're not famous yet. You're not established yet. You're just hopeful. And then the system swings. No warning. No meaningful explanation. No clear path to recovery. Just the silent message. You are done here. That's not just lost income. That's psychological damage. That's trust shattered. That's motivation destroyed. People talk about the creator economy like it's empowering. But what kind of economy allows a person's entire future to be deleted by a non-explainable machine? The worst part is not even the bans. The worst part isn't that bans happen. Every platform needs moderation. And if this video disappears, then you already understand the mechanism. Not because a human found it dangerous, not because it violated some clear rule, not because someone reviewed it carefully, but because a model somewhere decided the patterns weren't acceptable, and the humans were told to confirm the decision. That's the world creators are operating in now. Chase knows it, Niall knows it, Shaz knows it, Alaa knows it, and now you do too. This is not drama. This is not whining. This is not entitlement. This is about power. When a platform can erase people's work, income, voice, and future without explanation or accountability, that platform is no longer just hosting content. It is governing lives. And right now, that governance is being outsourced to systems that cannot explain themselves, cannot be questioned, and cannot be held to account. That is not innovation. That is negligence with a silicon smile. Not right, not left, just real.